Quiet the Power of Introverts. Susan Cain Summary. Have you ever felt like there's something wrong with being more reserved? Have you ever been labeled as shy as if it were a flaw? If so, this video is for you. We live in an era where image often outweighs substance, where speaking well seems more important than thinking deeply. But what if I told you that introverts, those who observe more than they speak, have a strategic strength that can transform the world? Quiet. The Power of Introverts by author Susan Cain reveals how society has distorted the meaning of success and how you can reverse that logic to thrive in your own way with your own nature, without having to mold yourself into a loud model that doesn't represent you. If this content has already touched you in some way, hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel. This helps spread the message to everyone who lives with a feeling of inadequacy simply for being quieter. Before we dive in, it's important to understand something. Our culture has created what Susan Cain calls the extrovert ideal, a deep-rooted belief that the best way to be successful is to be bold, sociable, talkative, and assertive. This cultural bias shows up everywhere. In schools that reward those who speak up the most, in companies that promote the most visible employees, and even in friendships and relationships that seem to value those who light up the room over those who think before they speak. But this wasn't always the case. Cain explains that, until the early 20th century, we lived in what historians call a culture of character, where people were valued for their integrity, humility, and moral strength. With the rise of big cities, mass media, and consumer culture, we shifted into a culture of personality, where charisma, charm, and the ability to sell yourself became more valuable than substance. This shift created a systemic temperament bias, a preference for extroverted traits that left introverts feeling like something was wrong with them. And here's where the central promise of this book comes in. Introverts have unique strengths that not only matter but are essential in today's world. In fact, they can be the very qualities that lead to deeper relationships, better decisions, and more creative innovations. Cain describes how introverts often excel in empathetic listening, deep focus, and independent thinking. These strengths allow them to process information thoroughly, spot patterns others miss, and come up with creative solutions that aren't influenced by the noise of the crowd. In workplaces dominated by meetings and brainstorming sessions, introverts can bring balance by offering thoughtful, well-researched insights that move projects forward. However, society's emphasis on constant socializing and teamwork often forces introverts into situations of social overstimulation. This can drain their energy, reduce their effectiveness, and make them withdraw, which is then misinterpreted as a lack of interest or leadership potential. The reality is that introverts simply operate differently. They recharge in solitude, and they work best when given time to think before acting. This doesn't mean introverts can't lead or succeed in public arenas. In fact, introvert leadership can be highly effective. Introverted leaders often give more credit to their teams, listen more than they speak, and make space for others to contribute. Cain's research shows that introverted leaders tend to get better results from proactive teams because they're not trying to dominate, they're trying to empower. One of the key takeaways from this first part of the book is that the quiet way isn't a disadvantage, it's simply a different operating system. Just as you wouldn't expect a computer built for precision work to run like one built for speed, you shouldn't expect introverts to operate like extroverts. Each has its place, and society benefits most when both temperaments are valued. As we go deeper into the concepts of introversion versus extroversion, you'll start to see that the world's greatest innovations, works of art, and even social movements have often been led by those who preferred solitude over the spotlight. Thinkers, writers, scientists, and leaders who changed the course of history did so not in spite of their quiet nature, but because of it. Optimized Insights Society has created an extrovert ideal that undervalues introverts. Introverts excel in deep focus, empathetic listening, and thoughtful decision-making. The quiet approach is not a flaw, it's a strength in its own right. And in the next part, we'll break down the science behind introversion, why your brain works differently if you're an introvert, and how understanding this can change your personal and professional life forever. To understand the true power of introverts, Susan Cain explores the science of temperament, the biological and psychological traits that influence how we respond to the world. Research shows that introversion and extroversion are not simply personality quirks, but are deeply rooted in our nervous systems. Introverts tend to have a more sensitive nervous system, meaning they process stimulation more deeply and intensely. This is why they can feel drained in environments full of noise, bright lights, and constant interaction, a phenomenon called social overstimulation. Extroverts, on the other hand, often thrive in high-stimulation settings and may seek them out. One of the most fascinating parts of Cain's research is the connection between introversion and the brain's reward system. Extroverts' brains are more responsive to dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, excitement, and reward. Introverts, however, are less driven by dopamine and more influenced by acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter linked to calm, focus, and long-term satisfaction. This difference explains why extroverts might chase immediate rewards while introverts prefer slower, deeper engagement. Cain also dives into the concept of the extrovert ideal in education. Schools often favor students who are outspoken, quick to answer, and willing to participate in group activities. But this leaves introverts at a disadvantage. Many introverted students learn best in quiet, structured environments where they can process information internally before sharing their thoughts. Forcing them to perform in loud, unstructured group settings not only hinders learning, but can also damage self-esteem. A significant part of the book addresses how to navigate a world that rewards extroversion while still honoring your natural temperament. For example, if you're an introvert in the workplace, you can use strategies like scheduling downtime after intense meetings, choosing roles that leverage your strengths such as research, writing, or strategy, and practicing empathetic listening. As a leadership tool, Cain emphasizes that the key is not to avoid all social interaction, but to find the right balance. Too much solitude can limit opportunities, while too much stimulation can cause burnout. The goal is to operate in your optimal stimulation zone, the sweet spot where you feel engaged but not overwhelmed. The book also challenges stereotypes about introverts being antisocial or lacking leadership potential. In reality, introvert leadership can be highly impactful. Leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, and Bill Gates are cited as examples of quiet individuals who made a profound difference. Their strength came from thoughtfulness, persistence, and the ability to listen deeply before acting. Powerful. Concept Cain introduces is the Quiet Revolution, a movement dedicated to changing the way society views introverts through books, talks, and educational programs. This movement seeks to create environments, from classrooms to boardrooms, that value deep thinking and reflective leadership as much as charisma and quick wit. The author also talks about the culture of personality versus the culture of character. In the culture of personality, which dominates today, people are judged by their ability to perform and impress. In the culture of character, which was more common in the past, people were valued for moral integrity and reliability. Introverts naturally align more with the culture of character, but they can still succeed in the culture of personality if they adapt without losing their core values. Cain provides practical tips for introverts to navigate extrovert-heavy environments without pretending to be someone they're not. For instance, before attending a networking event, you might research attendees so you can have deeper, more meaningful conversations instead of small talk. Or you might arrange one-on-one meetings rather than large group discussions, where your ability to listen deeply will stand out. Optimized Insights Introversion is linked to brain chemistry and nervous system sensitivity. optimal stimulation zone is key for balancing energy and engagement. The quiet revolution is reshaping workplaces and schools to include introvert strengths. In the next part, we'll explore how cultural differences shape the way introversion is perceived worldwide, and why being an introvert can be a huge advantage in certain cultures and industries. One of the most compelling aspects of Quiet is how Susan Cain highlights the role of culture in shaping our perception of introversion and extroversion. In the United States, the extrovert ideal is deeply ingrained in schools, workplaces, and even social life. However, in many other countries, introverted traits are far more respected, sometimes even preferred. For example, in parts of East Asia, such as Japan and China, being reserved, thoughtful, and humble is often seen as a sign of wisdom and reliability. These societies tend to place a higher value on listening before speaking and on collective harmony over individual showmanship. In such environments, introverts can thrive without feeling pressured to perform socially at all times. By contrast, in cultures driven by aggressive networking and self-promotion, introverts may feel constantly out of place. Cain points out that it's not about one cultural model being better than another. It's about recognizing that different societies reward different temperaments. If you understand the environment you're in, you can adapt without compromising your core personality. The book also explores how workplace introverts can leverage their strengths, even in extrovert-dominated corporate cultures. One strategy is to focus on preparation. Introverts often excel when they can plan ahead for meetings, presentations, or negotiations. This allows them to bring thoughtful, well-researched contributions to the table, rather than feeling pressured to improvise. Another key point is that introverts often build deep, meaningful relationships rather than large networks of acquaintances. While extroverts might know hundreds of people on a surface level, introverts tend to cultivate strong bonds with a smaller circle. These connections can be incredibly valuable, both personally and professionally, because they're built on trust and genuine understanding. Cain also notes that creativity and solitude are deeply connected. Many groundbreaking ideas and works of art were developed in quiet moments, away from the distractions of constant interaction. From writers to inventors to scientists, history is full of examples where solitude provided the mental space for deep, original thinking. A fascinating example Cain shares involves brainstorming sessions. Traditional brainstorming assumes that gathering a group to generate ideas together will lead to more creativity. But research shows that individuals often come up with better ideas when working alone first, then sharing their results with the group. This allows for reflection and avoids the pitfalls of groupthink. The Quiet Revolution has also made its way into education with initiatives like Quiet Power Schools, where the strengths of introverted students are recognized and nurtured. In these schools, students are encouraged to participate in ways that suit their temperament, for example, through written reflections, small group discussions, or one-on-one mentoring. Rather than being graded solely on public speaking, Cain emphasizes that embracing introversion is not about rejecting extroversion. In fact, the best teams and relationships often combine the strengths of both temperaments. Extroverts bring energy, visibility, and rapid action. Introverts bring depth, focus, and strategy. Together, they create a balance that can be far more powerful than either trait alone. The chapter closes with a reminder that knowing yourself, whether you lean introvert, extrovert, or somewhere in between, is the first step toward using your strengths effectively. Self-awareness allows you to choose environments, relationships, and strategies that support your natural way of working and living. Optimized insights, cultural values shape how introversion is perceived. In some places, it's a strength. Creativity and solitude go hand in hand for many innovators. Quiet Power Schools help introverted students thrive on their own terms. In the next part, we'll see how introverts can communicate effectively in a world that often rewards the loudest voice, and how you can influence, lead, and inspire without pretending to be an extrovert. One of the biggest challenges for introverts is communication in environments that favor extroverted styles. Whether it's in meetings, classrooms, or social gatherings, the person who speaks the loudest often gets the most attention. But Susan Cain argues that you don't have to change who you are to make your voice heard. Instead, you can adapt your approach while staying true to your temperament. A key strategy is preparation. Before entering a meeting or event, introverts can benefit from preparing key points they want to express. This ensures that when the moment comes, they can speak with clarity and confidence. Another technique is to use active listening, paying close attention to what others are saying and then offering thoughtful responses. This not only makes your contributions more impactful, but also earns respect from others. Cain also emphasizes storytelling as a tool for introverts. Sharing personal experiences or relatable anecdotes can capture attention without requiring a loud or aggressive style. Storytelling works particularly well for introverts because it allows them to structure their thoughts in advance and deliver them in a way that feels natural. In leadership, introverts can harness the power of empathetic listening to understand their teams deeply. By asking the right questions and giving people the space to share, introverted leaders can uncover valuable insights that might otherwise be missed. This approach can lead to better decision-making and stronger team cohesion. Networking, often dreaded by introverts, can also be redefined. Instead of trying to meet as many people as possible, focus on creating a few meaningful connections. Following up with a personalized message or scheduling a one-on-one conversation can make these relationships stronger and more genuine. If you're finding value in these strategies and want to continue exploring how introverts can thrive, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next insights. Cain also encourages introverts to recognize and manage their energy flow. Social interactions, even positive ones, can be draining for introverts, so it's important to schedule recovery time. This might mean blocking out time for solitude after a busy day or engaging in activities that recharge you, like reading, walking, or creative hobbies. Another powerful tip is to choose your arenas carefully. You don't need to be visible everywhere. You just need to be present where it matters most. By aligning your presence with your values and goals, you can have a far greater impact without exhausting yourself in the process. Optimized insights, preparation, and active listening help introverts communicate with impact. Networking works best when focused on quality, not quantity. Energy management is essential for sustainable success. In the final part, we'll uncover Susan Cain's practical steps for embracing your introversion fully, and how doing so can unlock your personal and professional potential. As we reach the conclusion of Quiet, the Power of Introverts, Susan Cain leaves us with a powerful message. Embracing your introversion is not just about self-acceptance. It's about using your natural strengths to create change in the world. Cain's practical steps start with knowing your own energy patterns. Identify when you're at your best, morning, afternoon, or evening, and schedule your most demanding work during those times. Protect that energy by setting boundaries and saying no to activities that drain you without offering meaningful value. Another step is to honor your need for solitude. Far from being a weakness, solitude is where introverts recharge, process, and innovate. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Whether it's through reading, walking, meditation, or quiet creative work, this time allows you to bring your best self to interactions and projects. Cain also advises finding the right environment. Just as plants thrive in the right soil and climate, introverts flourish in environments that respect their need for focus and quiet. This might mean seeking a workplace with private spaces, flexible hours, or a culture that values deep work over constant meetings. When it comes to relationships, Cain emphasizes authentic connection. Rather than trying to match the social pace of extroverted friends or colleagues, lean into what makes you a great friend, partner, or teammate, listening deeply, offering thoughtful support, and being present in meaningful ways. She also touches on the idea of stretching yourself, stepping outside your comfort zone when it matters most. This doesn't mean pretending to be an extrovert all the time, but rather choosing key moments to speak up, present, or take the lead when the cause is important enough to you. Over time, these intentional stretches can expand your comfort zone without draining your identity. For parents and educators, Cain's message is clear. Support introverted children by allowing them to develop at their own pace. Avoid pushing them into constant group activities, and instead, provide opportunities where they can shine, whether that's through independent projects, one-on-one mentoring, or small group work that aligns with their interests. The final chapters remind us that society's most valuable contributions often come from those who work quietly behind the scenes. From innovators and scientists to writers and social reformers, many of the people who have shaped our world did. So not by dominating conversations, but by thinking deeply and acting decisively. Cain's vision for the quiet revolution is a world where both introverts and extroverts are valued equally, and where every person is encouraged to operate from their strengths. This balanced approach has the potential to transform schools, workplaces, and communities for the better. Optimized insights embrace solitude as a source of strength, not weakness. Align your environment with your temperament to thrive. The quiet revolution envisions a balanced world where all temperaments are valued. If you enjoyed this summary and it helped you see your strengths in a new light, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss future content. And if you want to dive deeper, check out the next videos we've prepared for you. Your journey of self-discovery doesn't end here.